afternoon, everybody. Welcome in to the Mays and Miller Reviews. Good afternoon, Michigan football. I haven't seen Michigan fans so happy in a long time. I don't know about a long time. They just won the national championship a couple of months ago. But, man, Michigan fans are just hopping and smiling and patting each other on the back. They just can't get enough of the Michigan football news, man. People are beside themselves and just have big smiles on their face all around. And why not? Why not? You know, you win the national championship, you get into the offseason, you have the coaching change, and you get to the officially summer where we're at right now. And then recruiting gets going. And then, you know, it's going slow at the beginning, but a little bit of momentum. And now it's going. And now it's just, you know, it's firing. I don't think Michigan's like some old jalopy or something. Like it takes a little while to, you know, to get running and get up to speed and everything else. It's more like a race car that you put that fuel in and you fire up that engine, and it is just humming around the track now, and it's going, and everybody is feeling it and watching it, and it's a continuation of the dream. Is what it is. You wait all this time and you wonder, what would it be like if Michigan did this? What would it be like if Michigan won it all? What would it be like if Michigan, which has everything going for it in the world, it's Michigan. What if they had things rolling? And right now, Sherrone Moore's just working his ass off. I don't know what he's doing right now. I imagine he's sitting in his office contacting recruits or talking to his staff about the upcoming season, game planning it. I don't know. You know, he's a smart enough guy. Maybe he's just working smarter. He doesn't have to work as hard every single second of the day with his nose to the grindstone. But I'll give him props today on the execution of the game plan so far since taking over. I don't think that the collective Michigan fan base, coaching staff, everybody that is involved in Michigan football has been at the peak of where things are at right now. That's how everybody is feeling about the program and where this thing is going. That's where we start today. There's, some news as we jump into it. There's stuff going on with recruiting. There have been some commitments over the weekend. Michigan is rolling on that side. That's part of it. But we do start with this good news for U of M, which everyone has these smiles plastered all over their face. And, you know, that's the way it should be for Michigan. People shouldn't be backbiting, talking about, oh, this and oh, boo-hoo, and this is going to be the last national championship Michigan will win in their lifetime, and all this kind of stuff. People should be excited. And, you know, the players around the country in high school should be excited about Michigan too. And they look like they are excited about Michigan. They look like they're excited to commit to Michigan. I think, you know, if I try to put in words where we're at today, is that, you know, Michigan doesn't take a backseat to anyone. I mean, that's Michigan. It really is. They've got anywhere you want to look, you know. Certainly, you know, you look at football and the stadium and the helmets and the jerseys and the history and the tradition and everything that they've got. Hell, they're the defending national champs. But you're always breaking it down. You always want more. You're always looking at something. It's tough to follow up what they did last year. And we know what they lost. They lost a hell of a lot, but they the way college football is changing, you wondered if Michigan was positioning itself to they're at the big boy table. In fact, they're at the end of the table. Like they're the champs. Like they're elite. That's what they are. But I think today, I feel like they've got everything in place to stay elite in college football for the days and the years ahead. And, you know, that's a tricky thing to to navigate and to, even to say, but you see it happening. Now, for the last few months, how I don't know, like the last few years, things have changed with the transfer portal and NIL, and I mean, it was just 2 years ago. I was sitting here, and people would, and I love the feedback. I'm going to go to some of it here. That people would say, "Oh, Michigan, they're in trouble with that transfer portal because Michigan they're just not going to be able to get people into the transfer portal. The admissions will put a big stop sign up. They won't be able to get them. We know it's a long story short. There, however they're doing it, it's working. With the transfer portal, they've got 19 players since that happened. So yeah, check. They've got that going. NIL has a bunch of different phases to it. It's not just pulling out big stacks and throwing it, to a kid. Although sometimes it just seems like that. Whoop, go ahead, just give them a big stack of money. It's retaining the players that you have. That's a big part of it. Being able to go into the transfer portal, NIL, there's a part of that. And then, that other part of recruiting. And then the last part is the one, that there's the piece that Michigan, needed to get through or get over or deal with better, or deal with, just have it come around where their game plan started to work more. And, the game plan, we've been watching it unfold every month, like for the last 2 years. There's like somebody different hire. Like, oh, this is another hire for NIL. This is someone who's an administrative assistant. Here's a CEO of NIL. Here is a vice president of this business firm that is a big, strong arm that's coming in that's going to help Michigan and NIL. And still, we're all sitting over there like, well, I don't know. We're all the recruits. Michigan's throwing a million things at NIL, all of these different. They've got, physical building. They've got it online. They've got another hire that they're bringing in. Well, so they weren't all just sitting around smoking cigars and, whatever else, drinking scotch, being like, hey, this is a great job. NIL, woo! They weren't just doing that. However they put it together, and their attack and their management and their game plan and their execution of it, we're seeing it happen here for Michigan. And that's why, today is a very good day for the Maize and Blue. That is what's going on. That, I don't have to say the bottom line now. I feel like I'm just talking just to talk. That is, how things, the proof is in the pudding when it comes down right now. And right now the pudding is, tastes pretty sweet. Okay. So that's the good news. And it is that Michigan, not that they, say finally figured things out. I wondered heading into June, you kind of looked over there at the recruits and you just saw, well, they had a couple. It's nice, man. And I said it myself. I said, well, let's get through June. Let's not panic. I was not, but I saw the button over there, and I at least had to recognize that, it got into July and things had kind of stalled out. You're like, maybe I'm going to put the panic button in front of me and then start to say, look, they got to really get something going here in July, or I'm going to put my hand over the panic button. The panic button's out the window. They have gone out there and they have been able to execute their plan, and the kids are looking at it. And I say whatever Michigan's selling. We know almost everything that Michigan is selling. They're Michigan. They've got a lot to sell. It's a lot of it sells itself. It's like, look, this is Michigan. Come on in. Just sign on the dotted line. All of it that they've put together, the momentum that they have right now, the wave and all that, it feels like that Michigan They're elite football program. It feels like nothing could stop them. This was something that could stop them. There's nothing to be mad at. There's nothing to complain about. Now, look, you can find some things you could say. Harbaugh should still be here if they would have done. Okay, I mean that's fine. You can go that there, but things are looking pretty good. Let's read some of the feedback here. Tim is talking Ohio State, and he's talking about an issue between Jordan Davison. He's some hotshot running back. He says OSU doesn't have enough money for him. And he came into their visit at 240, and he plays at like 215. I'll take your word for it. So he's a little heavier than his playing weight. That's a lot heavier. It sounds like LeGarrette Blount, back in the day coming in like this is. Yeah, look, what does it mean for Ohio State? Remember, Ohio State's got this tag of being the greatest football team that's ever been assembled. It is a do or die national championship or bust. Ryan Day, they're getting ready to put a statue up of him, or they're ready to run him out of town. There's a part of that where you feel like Michigan's got Ohio State right where they want him. It feels like after 1968, it's the greatest football program. We know what happened the next year. I can recall back in 95. Oh, no, Michigan. Now, Michigan wasn't undefeated and everything else, but Ohio State, they just, how could anybody even think about even stepping out on the same field with the Scarlet and Gray? Michigan beat them. They beat them the next year. I look at that roster that they had in 21 and 22. I look at Stroud and the players that he was throwing the ball. I mean, it's incredible. So now that I've got Urban Meyer and I've got people that follow recruiting, and then myself that follow recruiting, looking at all the stars, it's just if the game was won on the recruiting sites and in the transfer portal, then Ohio State would have a bunch of national championships. But it's been a long time since they've won one, and they got a bunch of pressure on them right now. I don't know what's going on in Columbus. They got a lot of money. They just continue to recruit and whatever they are doing. So there it is. P. Maximus is talking about another podcast channel, has mentioned we are about to announce another NIL initiative, which will be launched soon. Well, wait a couple days, if maybe a couple weeks, if not a couple hours, and there'll be another NIL initiative. I think it's a good idea. I don't know how true that is specifically, but the way things are going right now, if I was sitting around, if the management team is watching this podcast, whether it's live or after the fact, it's probably a good idea. Hey, let's monitor what the people are thinking. Maize and Blue Review. I think he's got a good. He's got the pulse of the Michigan fans as he takes what they're saying live on the air. I would say the iron is hot for an NIL initiative for Michigan. People could feel it. People could see it. They got a real taste of it right now. Launch another one. Great idea. I'm all for it. I don't know all the particulars and everything that goes into it, but if it's about when should we launch an NIL initiative, now is a great time to do it. Doug, do you think that accepting verbals will be delayed? Because it seems that if you get commitments early, other schools just come after them. No, here's the thing. Like guys can do whatever they want about accepting verbals. What are you going to do if you're Sharon Moore and one of the guys that's at the top of your list comes into Michigan and says, I've seen enough, I'm in? Well, you take them. And the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, if there's a player behind them, I mean, and if a kid is in, and he has been solid every day and everything. Every time you're talking to him, it's not like a kid verbals. You say, "All right, we'll see you in December." It's just starting. It's a continuation. I don't even know how much it changes if you're a verbal. Does it stop Michigan from talking to another kid? Maybe at some of the positions. Certainly at quarterback. I think it's when it's a quarterback, you have I think they always have this kind of serious discussion. Here I am laughing about it, but no, I think they Brady Hart is going to be committed for like a year and a half to Michigan. The quarterback out of Florida who committed last week, when they talked to him, and they're like, "Look, if I don't think they say to him, hey, if you start taking other visits, then we're going to start looking at other quarterbacks." I don't, as long as the kid's solid and the communication is two-way and you're feeling good about it, you keep everybody in the picture about what's happening. It's like Michigan in a second. They just got another running back commitment. Do they tell the one kid, Parker, like, hey, you're the only guy we're taking? Probably not. I say, look, we'll take other running backs. That could be a question. I don't know if they just come out and tell it, but I think that would be a conversation that you have at every position on the field, and the communication lines are always open, and you're staying with it, and that. I'm ready for some football too, Richard. It's getting to the point here. It's why there's some people, and they tell me like, well, I don't know why you get so interested in recruiting. Some 17-year-old kid's going to change his mind next week. Because one, it's fun. And two, it gets you excited for the upcoming season, and it gives you a chance to talk about the team where otherwise, you're not. It's new, and it's something that you can look at and you can always apply to the team. Michigan's got the 2 running back commitments right now. Well, then you start looking at them, you say, oh, now these guys, this is the next Corum and Donovan Edwards. Then you can start taking a look at the roster this year. Well, what do you think about running backs? It always gets the conversation. It continues to get the conversation going. The downside to recruiting is certainly decommitments and then surprises. It can be a little bit too much of a roller coaster. I get that. You might not like that. So gambling, I gamble a little bit. I have not done really well in these NHL. I've had a lot of fun with it. I mean, so much fun with my friends, with this Stanley Cup playoff pool that we've run on and off for like 30 years. Well, I lost it, to make a long story short. And then I hedged without even looking at all the other teams because I thought I was going to win it, which is a huge mistake. But I was having so much fun, I did it. And then I was down, and then I did another gambling faux pas, as then instead of going with the same units that I was going with, I came way over the top and almost bet everything that I had on the Florida Panthers. And you wouldn't believe how cocky I was after they were up 3-0. I started thinking that maybe I should open up a gambling service. Maybe in addition to just talking here on the Maize and Blue Review, maybe I should be 1-800, I've got your picks. Because I went out there and took Florida. I said, I'm picking them outright to win this thing. I'm loading up on them after 3-0. After 3-1, I wasn't worried. It's just like the Mavericks. The Mavericks won by 50 points over the Celtics. I wasn't worried about it. 8-1. But then, Florida, when Boston came back home from Game 5, they put the smack down and won the championship. Florida did not. They lost decisively. Then they went back up to Edmonton, which is a tough place to play. And, of course, the Oilers won that. Now we're set up for tonight's game in a reverse sweep. And for me to feel like I should quit gambling. I don't know where I was going with that. I forget. Now I'll have to pick it up somewhere else when it comes back to me. If somebody can help me with my train of thought. Now I'm looking at some of the feedback. It's some people don't have the stomach for gambling. I put myself into that category. But recruiting is the same way. You have to have a real disposition. You have to have a steel mind. If not, it is such a roller coaster. On 1 minute, I think and I'll stay with a gambling analogy. Some people I like playing poker, but a hand can last. Hell, it can last 10 minutes, but a lot of them, generally 4 or 5 minutes. That's not a bad. Recruiting is like blackjack. It's happening. Woo, woo, woo. And you got 5 hands and money's flying all around. And some people love it. It's just an adrenaline rush. Boom, boom, boom. And then I watch the people that are really into it. And this is one thing I'm not good at. You could be in on a 5-star and things are looking good. Everybody, and he spurns you at the last second. He's going somewhere else. And man, I'll be like, oh, this is the time and commitment and energy that I put into this recruit. Or then people will be like, on to the next one. Just on to the next one. They just turn the page so quick. I have to learn how to do that a little bit better. Ferris says we need lots and lots of wide receivers. Stay tuned, Ferris. I feel good about Michigan and wide receivers. Hell, I feel good about Michigan in all the positions right now and what they're doing with how they're going out there. In years past, Michigan would get, the recruiting and you'd get 3 or 4. Oh yeah, this guy's good. That guy's good. And you see it all. But then there'd be some kind of kid. You're like, why are they taking this guy? Why? What's the, coaches must see something. And then you go back in the annals and you're like, well, so-and-so was a 3-star. So-and-so was a reach. There's none of that going on right now. It's like everyone that they're in on and everyone that they're getting is like top of the line, exactly the way you would want it if you're a fan. It's like they've got it really from that standpoint. I don't think you can complain about that. Again, maybe you can. Let's go back and take some more feedback. Tim is saying it's so big to have a quarterback locked in early when it comes to the class. He's talking about Hart in 26. That's how you get elite wide receivers and running backs and offensive talent. I think Hart's commitment will help us this year going forward. Couldn't have said it any better myself, Tim. I love it that the quarterback is the first one. Or is he the second one? One of the first two. Dennis yelled, "One, it's fun." But I heard something else. It's fun. I don't know. I hope whatever you heard, you liked. Since it's summer, P. Maximus says, are quarterbacks already enrolled, allowed to work out with quarterback coaches not associated with the program? I'm not 100% sure about any of that, P. Maximus. I mean, I know that they're over there. I'd say I know. I assume that they're over there at Glick Fieldhouse working out. And so if they're enrolled, why wouldn't they be enrolled? I mean, they're part of this program. I think everybody is enrolled. I mean, are you talking about, Jaden Davis is enrolled? I mean, he was in spring ball. So, yeah, all the quarterbacks are enrolled. Are they allowed to work with quarterback coaches not associated with the program? I am going to say yes to that. Again, without knowing everything, I think they're all enrolled, and you can work out with a quarterback guru. And so, yeah, if they're not a coach, they have those particular rules. Why couldn't you? You can work out with anyone. So I'm going to say yes to that. Deconstructing the question. D. Spencer says, seems the new coaching staff are hitting their recruiting stride. I'd say bingo to that. How about we give it up to Ron Bellamy? Ron Bellamy seems like he's on fire. Ron Bellamy. Ron Bellamy, Antoine, is a coach that he played at Michigan not so long ago, but a long time ago. I liked Ron Bellamy when he was a wide receiver at Michigan. So I was going to root for Ron Bellamy, whatever happened to him. When he was at West Bloomfield as a head coach, I interviewed him. And I'm talking to Ron Bellamy, and I'm just listening to him. It's weird when you talk to someone in person, what they can do to you and how you can become a fan of someone. Just listening to an interview, sometimes it can do the same thing. That's what happened when I interviewed Ron Bellamy. This guy's got it. He sounds like a coach. He looks like a coach. He's connecting like a coach. This guy's going to be a tremendous coach, a head coach one day, if you will. And I still think that. Now, I can recall watching Sharon Moore as was he a tight end offensive line coach at Michigan, just stand up there and, talk about, just, how you see the coaches through the season, they'll go up there and they talk with the media. I spent like 1 or 2 minutes listening to Sharon Moore, and I said, that guy's got it. There's who else would I put into the Ron Bellamy, Sharon Moore? These guys, you could tell pretty quick that they got it. Mike Sainristil, whatever he wants to do when he's done playing, I hope he plays for 20 years. Mike Sainristil would be a tremendous coach when he was done. He'd be a great GE. Whatever he wants to do, he'll be great at it. It doesn't mean that because, if you're not a great orator or connector or whatever, but it's a real nice thing to have. It's a real nice thing to have. And I don't know, sometimes you say I think you have to work at it. Being able to connect with people and have that kind of personality, and probably it comes from your family, probably comes from a lot of different things. I think some of that is you're born with, that you just have a presence. You guys have a presence about them. And sometimes, like JJ feels like he's got a presence about him, and he feels like all that kind of stuff too. But almost in general, quarterbacks, they have that because they have to communicate with the rest of the offense. They're in the huddle. They're the last one that's standing up there when everything that's gone on with the practice and the play called. They're the one that's getting ready to hike the ball and hand it off to the right side. And then the quarterback looks up there and then he sees the safety walking up and then he changes. He changes the play to go to the left side. Ferris says, don't bet on things you cannot control. That sounds pretty good to me. Any kind of wise words to gambling is something to keep in mind, Ferris. Nice job. Richard, meanwhile, says tonight. Go Panthers. That's right. Go. If I could say one thing about that, Richard. I was talking with a former Red Wings captain this morning. And I said, the only time in Stanley Cup history that a team has been down 0-3 and lost was back in 1942. Jack Adams was the Red Wing coach. Old boot nose, Sid Abel was their Hall of Fame player. And that's the only time it's been done. It's never been done in the NBA at any level. It's been done 3 other times in hockey. It's been done 4 times altogether, but just once in the Stanley Cup Finals. Never been done in the NBA. And it's only been done once in baseball when the Red Sox did it against the Yankees. It's very impressive. So you've got all of that. And then I can remember in 2009, the Red Wings had won the Stanley Cup in 2008. It was 2009, and I was going down for Game 7. Back-to-back cups. I packed a cooler in the back seat after the game. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I knew that one person said after the game, what's happening? She's like, I've got my office. I'm thinking I'll be good till 6 a.m. I had the cooler packed, but the long story short is that I was looking through the notes there and I was talking with somebody else. And they said, you know what? Home ice doesn't matter until the Game 7. And I said, "Ooh, that sounds good." And he said, "Well, look at the numbers." And sure enough, it was right. It was like, 85% or something. And then I said, well, what about a game 7 in the finals? And they said, it's even more of a landslide. And so then I looked, and sure enough, it was right. One time in 82 years has a team coughed up a 0-3 lead or 3-0 lead. So a lot of history is on the side of Florida. And then in addition to the game 7 being at a home ice, that's huge. But the lesson, maybe going back to Ferris, is that the Red Wings lost that game to the Penguins, and they did not win back-to-back cups. And I was pretty miserable. I had that cooler. Finally, after a day or two, I had to go, well, might as well unpack that cooler. Wasn't a lot of fun. Antoine's talking wide receiver. Oh, I don't know. Jacob Washington. I know he's a 4-star wide receiver out of Louisiana, Ron Bellamy territory. Antoine's saying that Michigan's got a commitment. Another commitment. Better check it on that. Old Antoine. Antoine, don't worry. Michigan won't run any slants with him. He doesn't have to run any complicated route trees. He just has to know how to block. I'm joking. Antoine and I go back like that. Let's see. Boom, 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 and boom. 4-star wide receiver Jacob Washington commits to Michigan. I don't know how you know all these things. And Antoine, I think Antoine is a member of the Maize and Blue Review. It's nice to see that. These game 7s always end up being low scoring. Bet the under. Well, I've already got a gigantic bet, so I'm not doing any more betting. I'm just going to take it all in. And I'm going to feel real good until the Oilers score first. And then I'm going to be nervous. Ferris, who just talked about not gambling, is going to Vegas. But he's not going to gamble. He might go inside the big basketball, the big globe. I heard it has a smell-o-vision in there. Yeah, that thing is, sometimes it looks creepy. Other times it looks cool. I wouldn't mind seeing a concert in that thing. Michigan's going to take the whole IMG team. Well, IMG's got it going. Let's go. I'm with that. Richard is talking about the technology of the desert. Ferris is coming back and saying that Hart is a 4-star, but he grows into that third dimension. He'll be a 5-star, maybe. Blank name, excited about the wide receiver that just committed to Michigan. Yeah, all right, well, let's get into some. Oh, wait. Hadley comes around once every couple months. So when I see him coming in, I just not that I just like everyone. I love everybody, but Hadley, there's something there. I know what it is. I've known him for the longest. Hadley, doesn't spell my name right. I don't care. Demis. Any thoughts on the new Pistons GM? How long till they get back to the playoffs? I say within 5 years or longer. Playoffs? Well, Hadley, Trajan Langdon. I didn't like how I liked how they fired the head coach and of course the GM, but it took way too long. They should have done this way earlier. Friday's news conference did not make me feel, look, sometimes you feel good after those, sometimes you don't. I didn't feel good after it. I felt like these guys were late to the party because they were, and they put on a poor presentation, which has been a hallmark of Tom Gores and people that work for him with the Pistons. Now, Tom Gores would tell me to go to hell because he bought the team for $350 million, and now they're worth over $3 billion. So he's like, I've made $3 billion since buying the team. Shut up. But no, you shut up. I don't have a lot of faith in what they're doing. I hope that San Antonio throws them another pick and they're able to move back to 8, so they'll be able to get the 2 of the 3 Frenchmen. Talking about the San Antonio Spurs, and maybe the Pistons will be able to pick up there. I think they should use their cap space and sign someone like Clay Thompson to like 50 million and then for 1 year and then look to move him and get bad contracts in and then get some draft picks attached to those. And if it's not 1 year for DeRozan or Thompson, maybe they could do something like that with DeRozan if he's not getting the 200 or 300 million. 1 year for 50 or 60. They got $60 million worth of cap space rather than doing something like, spend it crazy. Look, if they get OG Anunoby and DeMar DeRozan, I'll be good with that. But do I think that they should sign Miles Bridges with multiple domestic violence issues to, $300 million? No, I don't. 5 years. 5 years. Here's the thing, Hadley. If you get one player, like, Wimby, it's going to take them 3 years. We still don't know what's going on with Kate. I think what you're saying with 5 years, there's no hope in sight for this team. And I don't know, I've seen this team just a couple of years ago. They signed Blake Griffin, and then they didn't make the playoffs that year, but they made it the next. But, they made a play-in, or there wasn't even a play-in. They're in the 8th seed. I don't want to just make the playoffs. What's funny, though, Hadley? I go back to 2004, and I was just looking at that team. The only player that was in the rotation, even in the top 6 or 7, that they drafted was Tayshaun Prince. Everybody else came via free agency or a trade. I know that's not the blueprint, but it's pretty odd. Think of that. Chauncey was a free agent signing from the T-Wolves. Rip Hamilton, they traded Jerry Stackhouse from. They got Ben Wallace. They traded Grant Hill. They got Chucky Atkins as well in that deal. That was the big one. That was crazy how that one ended up working out. Sheed was a trade that they got from the Atlanta Hawks. Who else was in the road? Corliss Williamson was signed. Eldon Campbell was signed from the Lakers. Lindsey was drafted, but then I think he went to LA and then he came back as a free. All of them were free agents or trades. I'm going off of Michigan football here, but what I say, 98% of the time we're talking about Michigan. This is 2% of the time. Tim says he thinks Davis Warren says he worked out with CJ Stroud this offseason. It's pretty interesting little I heard, Tim. I'll give you that one. A little Davis Warren working out with CJ Stroud. Let's go. Let's do it. Let's see what else we have. People talking a lot about Michigan's brand spanking new commitment. Both Morgan and Bellamy have Louisiana backgrounds, and they are teaming up together to recruit that area. Great point, P. Maximus. I was giving all the plaudits to Ron Bellamy, but you're right. I think Morgan not only coached for the Ragin' Cajuns, but isn't that where he played? I'd have to check his bio. I think so. He, University of Louisiana. He went to high school in Texas and college in Louisiana. So, yeah, there it is. Ted Lindsay once told me anything is possible. I love the story of terrible Ted Lindsay. I don't know what year it was, but the Wings were playing the Leafs in a regular season game. And there was a threat on Ted Lindsay's life. Somebody, I think, sent him a letter saying that they were going to shoot him. This is serious. They were going to shoot him. And so, I don't know, the Red Wings had their security and everything else. But the story goes is that the Red Wings played the Maple Leafs. It was up in Toronto. Lindsay scored like 2-3 goals, and the Red Wings won the game. As Lindsay was leaving the ice, he turned his stick around, and he circled the ice, and he started acting like he was knocking guys off in the upper deck. I don't know. That's something, probably not a smart thing to do, but he did it. And I like that story about terrible Ted Lindsay. Terrible on the ice, complete gentleman and Hall of Famer and great guy off the ice. Juju's excited about the commitment of Washington. I got to tell you, I like when commitments happen during the show in real time. It excites me too. It makes me happy. Ferris is hoping to have me on the Voice of College Football. Let's do it, Ferris. Anytime for you. Let's do it. Juju's talking. Juju's on to the next one. He's ready for some a Marsh and an Olish. I think Marsh is a wide receiver, isn't he? So there'd be another one. It's because somebody earlier was talking about they were worried about wide receivers. Michigan looks pretty good for Marsh, I think, and they look good for Olish. What's he, a tight end? Top priority on offense, maybe. I think that Maxwell Roy, I'm putting a priority on him. A Hart-Washington combo. I like that too. Ferris taking a shot at Antoine. 71% of the earth is covered by water. Antoine can get the recruiting intel for the rest. So that was absolutely not a shot. That was a props to Antoine. Let's see. Michigan's moving up the rankings. That's not a surprise. When you start pulling in 4 stars from all over the place, you're going to move up in the rankings. That's what Michigan's doing. Here's D-Rob. What's up, D-Rob? They look like someone new to the party. He's talking go blue, hail to the victors. It's appropriate. You know, it's always appropriate, I guess, but it feels even extra appropriate today. So there's the good news I spent 41 minutes talking about. If you want to know even quicker than Antoine, which is almost instantaneously, that's why I suspect that Antoine is a member of the Maize and Blue Review, because he had that information. You can be like Antoine and get that information accurately, on time, entertaining, and everything by joining up with the Maize and Blue Review. You do that by going to michigan.rivals.com. And you think this is fun. You know, today talking about Michigan, that's what's going on all the time. You know, there's a posting board there. Michigan fans, a group of Michigan fans of sound mind and body, discussing everything that's going on from head to toe with the Maize and Blue, and doing it in a fun and respectful manner. I mean, it is it's the best. With the godsend, it's a great outlet. It's a great resource. It's lots of fun. Join in. Go to michigan.rivals.com. So you'll have to excuse me because I had Michigan down for 10 commitments. They're up to 11 now with Jacob Washington. The big news that he commits just minutes ago, the wide receiver out of Louisiana. Here are the ones that you probably know about. And Nathaniel Marshall was in this weekend. So was Bobby Kantka. I got news on him. Jasper Parker committed last week. And then this past weekend, Caden Strayhorn, I'm told he doesn't look like a center there. He looks like a tackle, but he could be the best center prospect in all of high school football right now. And his dad, as you might know, was a Spartan. And he's the big, this is, how would I say it? When I listen to Michigan State games on the radio sometimes. It's been a few years, but I used to when they were on and I was driving home. There's not a bigger homer than George Blaha on the Michigan State broadcast, unless it's Strayhorn right next to him, who just can't say thing, even when the State could be getting beat by 40, and he'd say, it's nothing. Well, come back. I got to give it to his dad for, like his son going to Michigan. And I saw a picture of him and he was smiling. Look, you want what's best for your kid. I would have thought that, knowing Caden Strayhorn's dad, that there is no way that his dad would allow him to go, certainly not to Michigan. And then it's happening. So I almost want to tune into the broadcast, the first one of the year. I certainly want to turn into that broadcast when Michigan's playing Michigan State and when Caden's on the field. Maybe his dad will retire as a broadcaster from there. But that's it. Congratulations to the Strayhorns. Donovan Johnson, a running back. Here's a picture of him here. And he's a highly ranked running back. Let's go in with it. But first, let's get that news. Bobby Kantka, he was up at Michigan State last week, and it was like, whoa. Rivals had a quote from him since he got back from Ann Arbor. Pretty quick trip back to Howell. The quote is from Kantka that he is locked in with Michigan. All right. Locked in. I like it. That sounds good to me. That doesn't sound like he's taking any more visits. He's locked with Michigan. All right, here's Donovan Johnson. 6'1", 215, IMG. Just committed. Look at him. This picture, he must have grown a little bit. I guess I can't tell how tall he is by just taking a look at him, but you can never have enough Donovans. But he's got a nice ranking, and he'll fit right into Michigan. That, I would say, is a great get. Strayhorn, I just mentioned, and that's why people are saying Michigan's building a brick wall around IMG, because they're going in there and they're taking anyone they want from IMG, including Caden Strayhorn. Wow, 6'3", 286. This guy is put together. His dad's put together. I saw a picture of him. In fact, the picture is the thumbnail for this show, for this YouTube show today. It's Caden Strayhorn on there holding the picture saying I'm in. Tremendous player, great get. Look at Michigan over Ohio State, Michigan State, Bama, and others. You want to know anything else besides that? Michigan, Ohio State, MSU, and Bama. His dad went to Michigan State. He picks Michigan. I like it. Oh, yeah, Donovan Johnson. Let's go ahead and just call him DJ. DJ picked Michigan over Georgia, Florida State, Tennessee, and a bunch of others. Michigan, Georgia, Florida State, Tennessee, Michigan prevails there. That sounds like great news to me. I mean, what else? How else can I even sell that? I mean, I don't have to sell it. It sells itself. It's great news. I'm not great with lip reading, so I'll take whatever he had to say. Give me a text, maybe. That's okay. Where were we at? Some other news out of the weekend. Hardy Watts. We already knew this, but Watts has announced his day. And I like when this happens. It builds the entire. I don't mind just guys having a verbal, but I like once in a while having this happen. I can kind of just go back and reset how this is playing out. Hardy Watts has picked a day. I don't have that day right in front of me, but it's like a week. It's like a week away. And he is down to Clemson, Wisconsin, and Michigan. He was in Ann Arbor over the weekend, and now in a week he is set to commit. Michigan or Clemson, Michigan, Wisconsin. Michigan got the last word. He's an offensive lineman. I feel like putting a forecast in for Michigan. I feel like I forecast. We'll wait till the big dogs like Josh Henschke, they put their future casts out. We'll see if Henschke's ready. When you join up in the Maize and Blue, you can see that. Henschke's got a great batting average when it comes to future cast. I would put him, I don't know, is he 100%? Does he only put future casts when he's absolutely right? Now, I got off on the wrong foot on forecasting because I took who's the kid that went to South Carolina that was the Olympic track star that I thought was going to Michigan. And I just had that feeling, and then it didn't. He's decommitted. It's word on my goats. Let's see if I can look at this way. The goats are way too far down. Okay. Sorry about that. We've got, Bob Aloha. I want him to. Maxwell Roy's announcing next week. I don't know if I can take that, Eddie. Are you sure about that? Watts and Roy in the same week? Chase Taylor? Hardy, July 1st. Is that next week? Sounds like next week is July 1st is Monday. All right. Adam's talking about DJ extremely underrated after his injury. That's a good point. You know your stuff, man. You guys, I know you guys come here for the information and everything, but you guys have all the information. Like, all the particulars. And that's one of the things about people that follow recruiting. Like, these guys, you guys know, those guys. I mean, we're all one. You guys know recruiting like there's no tomorrow. I feel like all you guys are recruiting experts. All of that. You're absolutely right, Adam. DJ is underrated. If we get Babaloa and Watts, we are straight. On the O-line, I'm with you on that. They get Babaloa and Watts and Gatch and then Strayhorn. That's like the offensive line from the year before. Then you're like, all right, now to work on the defense. Roy would be a nice way to start that one out. Man, that's how it's playing out. Have anybody more? I've had my Super 6. Let's take a look at them. We've got, so I guess maybe you put the pressure on those guys from out in Vegas and say, hey, you two and AK, are you guys ready to fire away? Meadows was somebody that I was feeling, but then look at that offer sheet that he has. Roy, a Michigan, a classic U of M Ohio State battle. Babaloa, did he make his trip to Oklahoma? I think that's where he was going. I was feeling pretty good about him. Blair, for some reason, seems like he likes Notre Dame. I don't know. I bet I'm just going to take a guess. I bet his family's the big Catholics. But you know what? As somebody told me, my one friend Anita, there's more Catholics at Michigan than there are at Notre Dame. So let's go. Hell with Notre Dame. That's it. Adam is talking about July 1st being a big day for Michigan. Well, it's going to be a big day for the Maize and Blue Review too, Adam, and a big day for this show because it's on a Monday, a week from today. I'll be sitting here going over all the particulars. Whoa, my goats have gone I might have to, we're having goat issues here. I have to go check on it. Corey, I appreciate the thoughts. Here's D. Robinson's talking about Sharon Moore's building a dynasty, and he's all for it. Could happen. I'm with you on Roy. He is somebody that I want 100%, and that is it. Thanks so much for watching this show. It is it's a good news Monday for Michigan. It could only get better in a big week, and then they could start July out with a bang. So it feels like Michigan's won a football game, and they're positioned to win plenty more in the future. The staff feels like they've hit their stride. They're rolling. This offseason's going great. Everything's going fantastic. You're a Michigan football fan. Pat yourself on the back. Pull your championship gear on. Wear it today. Today's the day that you should put that stuff on and say, hell yeah. We're putting it on today. That's the way it goes. Pete Maxima's great for the steak and mashed potatoes. Michigan is cooking. They are cooking. All right. We'll see you over on the Den. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll talk with you Wednesday. Jim Scarcelli will be here. Until then, smash that like button. We love the 5-star reviews on the podcast, and we love any kind of review in writing. If you're like, this guy talks too much, that's fine if that's your opinion. Leave us a comment there. We appreciate all of them. The honest ones. That's what we want. We want honesty. Take care, everybody. Have yourself a great Monday.